It's the world's most expensive party, and tables cost about $350. $350,000. Designers spend months toiling over the costumes of the attendees who are hand-picked to be culture's coolest and tastiest of tastemakers. I'm talking, of course, about the Met Gala, which has attracted celebrities like Princess Diana and Bad Bunny, Beyonce, Kim Kardashian. I mean, just look at all of these trendy people. Is that Mark Zuckerberg? Elon Musk? Sergey Brin and Jeff Bezos? The very people who have built their empires as outsiders, the hoodie-wearing tech bros and the move fast and break things people, are now finding a way inside society's most elite spaces. So why are the people who once broke culture from the outside now crawling their way up inside it? Well, this isn't anything new. In fact, for almost all of history, the most powerful businessmen have struck a deal with society's elite, and the deal was this. They would buy cultural immortality, and in exchange, they would have to give something back, a cathedral, or a coliseum, or a monument, or a museum with their name on it, something tangible to leave their legacy behind. But today's technocrat billionaires aren't upholding their end of the deal, and that's what I'm going to try to convince you of in this video. This is Painting the Past, where I paint while I talk about interesting things, but I'm not painting today because I'm moving and all of my painting stuff is packed. Computer, roll the tape. For thousands of years, wealthy business folk have bought stuff to leave their legacy behind, and in 15th century Florence, Lorenzo de Medici knew exactly how to do that. His family had built the most powerful bank in Renaissance Italy. They financed popes and they financed wars. They basically invented modern banking, and Lorenzo spent a significant chunk of his family's fortune on art and culture. He funded little-known artists like Michelangelo and some nerd named Leonardo da Vinci. In his state of Florence, he built magnificent plazas and fountains, many of which still exist today. If you walk around Florence, you'll probably see an inscription with his name on it. And when people questioned his spending, he said this: "I do not regret this. I consider it to have been a great honor to our state, and I think the money was well expended." Lorenzo invested his money into culture, and in return, culture gave Lorenzo immortality. Millions of people have stood inside the buildings he funded, they have basked in the chapels he paid for, and they've felt something timeless. He bought his way into that cultural timelessness. You can look at almost any century in any empire in the world and you'll see this pattern. The Colosseum, the Pantheon, the Taj Mahal was built to immortalize Shah Jahan's wife, Mumtaz. But here's the thing, the deal always has two sides, and you probably see where I'm going with this. The wealthy got their immortality, but they had to give something real to get it, something that belonged eventually to everyone. And this was especially true 400 years after Lorenzo de Medici was around, in America's industrial age. In the late 1800s in New York City, society's elite operated through something called the 400, which was a popularity list run by Miss Carolyn Astor, and it was literally the number of people that would fit into her ballroom. Just like my MySpace Top 8 back in 2006, if you weren't on the list, you were not cool. At the same time, a new generation of businessmen were making their own new wealth. The Vanderbilts, the Carnegies, and the Rockefellers made their fortunes so fast that old money society didn't know what to do with them. And Alva Vanderbilt was not on that 400 list. So in 1883, she built a mansion on Fifth Avenue that overshadowed every other home on the block, and she threw a costume ball for 1,200 people. She forgot to invite Miss Astor, the owner of that 400 list, and the ball worked. It was a way for these new wealthy families to get on the map of high society, but more importantly, there was another way they did that. These new money families began to buy their way into cultural favor, much like Lorenzo de Medici 400 years before. The Metropolitan Museum of Art was actually founded in 1870 explicitly by America's new industrial class, as a way to prove that a country built on commerce could also be a country built on this new culture. But just like there's backlash against billionaires attending the Met Gala today, there was backlash then, too. The New York Sun published a furious piece about Alva's ball, about $65,000 spent on champagne while people in that very same city went hungry. But here's what Medici and the Gilded Age barons had in common. The price of cultural immortality was real. You had to fund something that actually existed after you were gone. The legacy was commensurate with the investment. Now, before I get to why things are different with today's technocrat billionaires, it's important to mention that the Met Gala is a charitable event. It's a fundraiser for the Met's Costume Institute, which is a branch of the Met that houses thousands of fashionable items. In 2025, the gala raised $31 million, and Fern Mallis, the creator of New York Fashion Week, said that its roots began as an event for well-heeled philanthropists and patrons who lived nearby and just loved the museum. It stayed that way more or less until 1995, when Ann Winter took over as chair. And over the past 20 years, she has turned a charity dinner into the most photographed, most discussed, and most coveted invitation in the world. Now, for the Fashion Institute, it's a huge success, but here's what's changed in the process. As the cameras got bigger and the audience became global, simply being in that room, simply being photographed on those famous Met Gala steps, has become its own form of cultural inscription. Today's list is about who was there. It's about the image, which means for the first time that you don't necessarily have to fund culture to be written into it. You just have to show up where the culture is. When Jeff Bezos was named the honorary chairman of this year's Met Gala, activists projected Bezos' face onto the Empire State Building with the words, "If you can buy the Met Gala, you can pay more taxes." But the honorary chairmanship is a different kind of transaction. It's not the Medici model, or the model that we've seen throughout history. In an era of Instagram and instant gratification, Bezos, Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, Sergey Brin, they are immortalized through the photographs and the headlines. Lorenzo had to fund the plazas. He had to build something to be immortalized. The Gilded Age barons had to invest in things like the Met Museum. Their legacy is real because their investment is real. So my honest question is, what do today's technocrat billionaires give us? What do we, the commoners, get in return for their immortality in culture's highest echelons of society? Society's highest echelons of culture. So my honest question is, what do today's technocrat billionaires give us? What are we getting, the commoners, in return for their cultural immortality in culture's highest echelons? Are we getting a worse deal than all of those centuries and civilizations before us? Or are we just getting a more honest version of the deal that's always been happening? Maybe in 100 years, the digital archives will feel as permanent as a fountain or a plaza or a museum. Maybe presence was always the point, and those buildings, those investments, were just a more expensive way of achieving it. That's all I got. This is Painting the Past. I'll see you next time. Celebrities like Princess Diana and Bad Bunny, I think that's Kim Kardashian, and Beyonce, and Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg,